Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. And let's get to the list. Candyland is a 2022 horror thriller, written and directed by John Schwab. It stars Owen Campbell, Olivia Liccardi, and Sam Corton. A seemingly naive and devout young woman finds her way into the underground world of truck stop sex workers. But soon after, things take a dark turn.
What are you doing back here? Are you okay?
Who's this? She's from that weirdo cult.
I think they're gonna leave for heaven before the rest of us.
This is such a quality little indie movie. I was absolutely floored, very surprised by just how good it is. The acting, the way it's shot. It's a very simple type of one location kind of movie, so there's not a lot that goes on, but it's full of dread and makes you more and more uncomfortable. And you're just kind of trying to figure out what's happening here because there's a lot of mystery in the way that it's presented. But I was also very surprised on the subject matter and the way it was handled, because these are sex workers. These are prostitutes at this really seedy, rundown truck stop. But the way it's handled, you care about these people. They're not treated like scum, dirty, people at all. You find yourself really caring about each one of them individually because there's a really nice backstory and character development to all of them. And so when things start to happen, you're really invested in it and care about the consequences. But I think this is a thrilling, exciting little movie that you should definitely add to your list. Tess of Halloween is a 2015 comedy horror anthology, with segments directed by Neil Marshall, Darren Lynn Bousman, Axel Carolyn, and others. It stars Lynn Shay, Barry Bostwick, Alex Esso, and many other horror icons. 10 stories are woven together by their shared theme of Halloween night in an American suburb.
Spirits roam the earth tonight. Do you know why we wear costumes on Halloween? It's so the dead won't know who's alive.
This is such a fun little forgotten film, because if you're a big fan of Halloween like I am, as well as a big fan of horror, this is awesome. It's really low budget, so you gotta kind of go in with that in mind. But it has so many different iconic performers, directors, you name it, involved in one way or another in this. They just do all these different cameos, and it's a great time. But this isn't just about the cameos. It also does a really great job of weaving this story together with some really fun characters and segments that are gonna surprise you with just how vicious and fun they are. I think it's a perfect pick for the Halloween season, so absolutely check it out.
That was the soul collector. When your number's up, that's it.
The Frighteners.
The Frighteners is a 1996 supernatural comedy horror movie. Directed by Peter Jackson, it stars Michael J. Fox, Trini Alvarado, and Jeffrey Combs. After a tragic accident that kills his wife, a man discovers he can communicate with the dead, and he uses the gift to con people. But when a demonic spirit appears, he's the only one who can stop it.
We have got a poltergeist!
Okay, well, folks, I can do a clearance, but it's not gonna be cheap.
I've been such a fan of this movie ever since it came out. I just love the charm, the fun, spooky quality it has, because it isn't anything that's too serious, so it's like that perfect moody, atmospheric movie for this time of year, because it is horror and it has some horrific imagery, but for the most part it's just a fun, kind of light-hearted horror movie. And this is one of my favorite performances by Jeffrey Combs. He's just incredible in this, so weird and quirky. And the special effects are amazing in this, and propelled the team as well as Peter Jackson to go on and do the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because they were able to show what they could do with this little budget on this movie. But I think this is a wonderful little film that really deserves more attention, so absolutely check it out. It stains the sands red as a 2016 Canadian-American horror movie. Directed by Colin Minahan and written by Minahan and Stuart Ortiz. It stars Brittany Allen, Juan Rediger, and Merwin Mondesir. The story is about a woman relentlessly pursued through the desert outside of Las Vegas by a single zombie. What a surprise this movie was. I talked about it a few months back on another list, but I came across this out of nowhere. I didn't know anything about it. And it starts off like it's gonna be low rent, low budget, cheesy, cheap, almost like porn star actor level. And I'm like, I don't know about this, but something about it just made me go, all right, I'm gonna give it a little bit longer. And I'm so glad I did, because it picks up pretty quick and becomes so compelling and so much different than I expected it to be. Because it's got a lot of heart, as well as being very exciting and entertaining on so many different levels. It has some great humor, action, it's thrilling, it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. It really is a fantastic movie that I highly recommend.
I know this book will drive people crazy.
Let's hope so. The movie comes out next month.
In the Mouth of Madness is a 1994 supernatural horror movie. Directed and scored by John Carpenter. It stars Sam Neill, Julie Carmen, and Jürgen Prochnow. It tells the story of John Trent, an insurance investigator who visits a small town while looking into the disappearance of a successful author, but begins to question his sanity as the lines between reality and fiction begin to blur.
Kane's writing has been known to have an effect on his readers.
So this is on my all-time favorites list. It's really up there. I mean, especially when it comes to John Carpenter. I'm not sure what I'd put above it. I mean, it's right there for me personally with Halloween and The Thing. All three of these are just amazing, legendary movies that hold on to parts of my little horror heart. This movie is fantastic. I love the imagery, the pacing. It's creepy and uncomfortable, but there's this kind of humor to it as well. And it really makes you question your sanity as you watch this, because things just continue to happen and you're scrambling trying to figure out what is the deal here, what is reality and what is a delusion, and it's just done so well. And the score, once again, I love John Carpenter's scores, and this one is no different. I just really think it's a fantastic movie. So every time I see it available for free on Tubi, I absolutely gotta talk about it. So if you've never seen this, or if it's been a while, now's a great time to check it out while it's available for free on Tubi.
Run Red.
The Hills Run Red is a 2009 slasher horror movie, directed by Dave Parker and written by David J. Shao. It stars Sophie Monk, Tad Hillerbrink, and William Sadler. A group of horror movie fanatics are looking for the filming location for a movie that has been rated as the bloodiest movie of all time. However, they discover something more brutal than any horror movie.
Why the movie? Why is it so important to you?
Because people said it's the scariest thing they've ever seen.
This is another one of my absolute favorites. I just love this movie. It's the one that I always recommend to people when they ask, what's a really, underground movie, a real hidden gem that nobody ever talks about, but that's really good. I always recommend this one because it's so unique in so many different ways, but it's also a real badass horror movie because it has one of my favorite slasher killers, Babyface, that you just don't ever hear about. I've even made a few of my own versions of his mask because this movie's that underground. I've still never seen anyone that makes and sells one, at least not commercially. But this movie is also dark and gritty and uncomfortable with some really gruesome, sadistic scenes. I think it's a real jewel in the horror movie genre that more people need to see. House on Haunted Hill is a 1999 supernatural horror movie. Directed by William Malone, it's a remake of the 1959 classic of the same name. It stars Jeffrey Rush, Famke Janssen, and Taye Diggs. An amusement park mogul offers a group of diverse people $1 million to spend the night in a haunted house with a horrifying past.
Let the games begin.
This movie, I think, gets kind of a bad rap. I think a lot of movies from this era, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s era, they get a lot of hate, and I know some people are starting to come around on them, but I enjoy them. I'm not saying they're the best made movies ever, but there's this amount of humor to them. They're being campy and schlocky, and it's on purpose. There's a certain amount of that, of like a self-aware quality that they have that I just think is actually really fun. But don't get me wrong, the original is just amazing. It's an all-time classic. But I think this still has a place of its own as well. I think this is still a lot more fun than a lot of people give it credit for. It's not exactly scary, it is creepy at times, but mostly it's just a movie that I feel like is a fun watch, especially this time of year with some popcorn. So this really is a popcorn horror movie that I think you could have a great time with.
I can't wait to kill her.
All Eyes is a 2022 dark comedy horror movie, written and directed by the Greenlee brothers. It stars Jasper Hammer, Ben Hall, and Danielle Yvonne Ploger. The story is about a disgraced podcaster who interviews an eccentric farmer who claims to have a monster living in the woods near his home.
There's a giant beast that lives in the woods. My plan is to lure it to my house, trap it, and kill it.
This is another one that I talked about a few months back, but it deserves another mention because I'm telling you, this is such a surprising movie. It's not at all what I expected. It goes in a lot of directions that you just don't see coming. And in a lot of ways, it's almost like two movies because it goes along being one way, then something dramatic happens and it flips on its head for a while, and then it kind of goes back. It just keeps you off kilter the whole time. And there's some fun humor to it, but I wouldn't consider it a comedy either. It's hard to label a movie like this because it's quirky and charming, but also creepy and uncomfortable. It has a lot of heart as well and characters that you really care about. I think this is a fantastic movie and one that I highly, highly recommend.
I've met my demons. And they are many. I've seen the devil. He hears me.
Oculus is a 2013 supernatural horror movie, co-written, edited, and directed by Mike Flanagan. It stars Karen Gillan, Katie Sackhoff, and Brenton Thwaites. A woman tries to exonerate her brother who was convicted of murder by proving that the crime was committed by supernatural phenomenon.
Hello again. You must be hungry.
I am a huge, huge Mike Flanagan fan. I just think he's a wonderful writer, director, just such a talented filmmaker. The series that he's made on Netflix have been some of my favorites ever. Like, he's just brilliant. And this is one of his early movies. It has gotten some love, but I think it deserves a little more than it gets because it really is a wonderful little movie. And I think it's a perfect creepy one for this time of year because these spooky, atmospheric, haunted, demonic, kind of films are perfect in the Halloween season, at least in my opinion, because they're full of mood and atmosphere and supernatural forces. That's what Halloween is all about to me. And this is just full of that. There's an interesting backstory and legend involved, and some very cool imagery. And there's great layered characters with lots of emotion. Mike Flanagan just really knows how to pull that out of his actors. It's just really well done. So I think this is another great choice that you can't go wrong with for this season.
It's birthday time!
I enjoy a man of few words.
Willys Wonderland is a 2021 action horror movie, directed by Kevin Lewis from a screenplay by Geo Parsons. It stars Nicolas Cage, Kaylee Cohen, and Emily Tosta. A quiet drifter is tricked into a janitorial job at the now condemned Willys Wonderland, which becomes an all-out fight for survival against wave after wave of demonic animatronics.
Welcome to Willys Wonderland. Spend the night cleaning Willys Wonderland, and I will pay to have your car fixed. Deal?
So for my last pick today, I wanted to just pick one that's very fun, that's silly, that's definitely not something to think about. It's not heavy at all. It's actually kind of dumb and goofy, very campy, but I think it's actually really entertaining because it's really fun to see Nicolas Cage do a performance where he doesn't have dialogue. And it's because he's the guy that always is famous for his rants and just going off and saying a whole bunch of stuff. But in this performance, he doesn't say anything. And that's what I think is so fun about it. Beyond that, the animatronics look good. There's lots of action. But like I said, it's not anything to take serious. It's one that I think you could have fun with this weekend. So do yourself a favor, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, in my case, candy corn, and enjoy! And that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys seriously mean the entire world to me. I appreciate you all so much. And if you would like to help support the channel on Patreon, there's a link down in the description, or right there that I just pointed at. Or if you want to help support the channel over here and become a channel member and get a little eye icon, there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. If you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me rank the 10 most underrated werewolf horror movies. And I'll see you guys next time.